Because the high cost of living right now, because of the sudden increase of the gas prices, for me it's a huge spending. So it's better for me to take the public transport instead.
If you had an option for you to take public, why not? Just take public. Yeah, to save you some time, cost.
Imagine a narrow stretch of water thousands of kilometers away, yet its movement has the power to influence what we pay for fuel, food and everyday essentials. As tensions rise and shipping routes face uncertainty, the impact is being felt far beyond international markets. It is reaching households and businesses in Malaysia. This is the story of how a strait can shake the world economy and what it means for Malaysia. Good evening and Salam Malaysia Madani. You are watching On the Table. I'm Vimala Kasturi Firasami. Tensions in West Asia have escalated into a full-scale conflict, sending shock waves across global markets and international security. We take a closer look at the key developments and the chronology of events that lead to the crisis. The West Asia conflict began on 28th of February when the United States and Israel launched major airstrikes on Iran, killing the country's supreme leader and other senior figures. Iran responded almost immediately, firing missiles and drones at Israel and at US military bases in Qatar, Kuwait and the United Arab Emirates.
A message to the President of the United States. The outcome of war cannot be determined by tweets. The result of a war is determined in the field, the very place where you and your forces do not dare to approach.
Following the outbreak of the US-Israel war on Iran, Iranian commanders said the strait was closed and warned that any ships trying to pass will be attacked. By late March, however, Iran began allowing friendly or non-hostile vessels, including those from Malaysia, India, China and Iraq, to pass through under strict conditions. 21st of March, Trump gave Iran 48 hours, saying he will strike the country's energy plants if the Strait of Hormuz was not reopened. On 27th of March, he extended the deadline until 8th of April. On 8th of April, the United States and Iran agreed to a 15-day ceasefire just hours before the deadline expired. Following US-Israel peace talks on Iran, the United States and Iran failed to reach a peace deal after high-stakes negotiations.
We have been at it now for 21 hours, and we've had a number of substantive discussions with the Iranians. That's the good news. The bad news is that we have not reached an agreement, and I think that's bad news for Iran much more than it's bad news for the United States of America. So we go back to the United States having not come to an agreement.
After peace talks failed, Trump started the situation where US Navy quickly blocked ships from going in and out of the Strait of Hormuz. On 15th of April, Trump, in an interview, said the US-Israel war on Iran is close to over. The Prime Minister, Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim, stressed that the country's oil and gas supply remains secure, but rising global fuel prices continue to strain government finance as it maintains the RON95 price at RM1.99 to protect the majority. He said disruptions and risks to international trade routes due to conflicts in West Asia have led to higher shipping and insurance costs, which in turn are affecting fuel prices.
Malaysia masih bertahan RON95. Kalau harga itu melambung tinggi betul, dia mungkin mencecah lebih pada 6 bilion. Tapi kalau harga setakat sekarang, 5 bilion ringgit satu bulan. Bayangkan, 10 bulan, 50 bilion ringgit dari dana kerajaan. Januari masa saya umumkan subsidi RON 95, kita tampung 700 juta ringgit sebulan. Jadi saya fikir, okey, Malaysia ni bukan negeri miskin sangat. Sekitar 700 juta. Selang berapa bulan naik 5 bilion.
From the Malaysians' perspective, how concerned are people about global uncertainty and rising oil prices, and how is it affecting their daily lives? Here's what the public shared with our reporter.
Global tensions and uncertainty in the energy market are putting pressure on oil prices worldwide. As concerns grow over rising costs and possible supply disruptions, many Malaysians are beginning to feel the impact on their daily expenses. Let's hear from several Malaysians on their thoughts about the situation and how they're coping with the rising cost of living.
Quite frankly, not much of a changes at the moment. Yeah. Just a little bit more cautious, I suppose. We are very thankful for the government for having this assistance to the rakyat. Although something better can be given by the government, I suppose. But we are thankful for now. I think for one, the government has to really look into the traffic condition in Kuala Lumpur. People getting stuck for 2 hours, 1.5 hours in jam. That's a lot of wastage fuel on the road.
In fact, our government, they were trying their best to support the citizens. That we have to agree to that. But it's not that only our country has been affected; it is global. So, for me, if you ask me, we have to adopt all this, and then if you spend last time, let's say 100 ringgit, now you spend 10 ringgit within your means. That is what I feel to be. Yes, of course there is a change, but still the government is already giving us subsidy and everything. That's what they can give.
Minyak naik pun basically akan effect dekat sektor makanan juga. Makanan semua akan naik, barang-barang asas pun naik. Actually very thankful because kita ada subsidi. So basically kalau nak isi minyak pun ada kena pakai IC kan. So basically very thankful lah because at least kita tak perlu bayar pun yang harga minyak sekarang.
I would say yes. Yeah, it really does give a really big impact to my daily spendings, especially for work lah. Back then I used to come to work by car, but now I have to come by LRT, monorails and so on. As I mentioned, I am really grateful for our government for helping us with the subsidies that they give. Even though it's not much, but every single help actually matters.
Usually go back and forth from Subang to KL, but for now this year I rent a house in TTDI. Yeah, because I cannot afford the 40 minutes back and forth. So yeah, much cheaper. For my rent house is only 15 minutes away. So yeah, it's much cheaper from the back and forth from Subang to KL.
This actually helped the community a lot, and of course the locals, of course, because we rely heavily on the subsidized, petrol. So if we don't have that, then the price definitely hiked up for sure. And plus, if you can see the other countries, right, they are very impacted by it very heavily, to the point that they have to do work from home and everything. So since we have the subsidy, it's really helped a lot.
For now, government assistance and subsidies remain crucial in helping Malaysians manage the rising cost of living amid an uncertain global landscape. Chantrika Shankar, RTM.
Now let's take a look at the situation from the maritime perspective. The maritime sector plays a crucial role in global trade, with shipping and transportation serving as the backbone of international connectivity. From major shipping lines to vessels and key sea routes, the industry connects markets and economies across the world. At the center of this network, Port Klang is closely linked to global supply chains, especially through key routes like the Strait of Hormuz and Strait of Malacca. With these global uncertainties, how does Port Klang keep cargo moving efficiently while avoiding delays? Let's hear from the General Manager of Port Klang Authority.
Our role is to ensure that the port operates efficiently, and we are always ready for any future demands that our customers require from us. So we have to plan the port properly in such a way that we build infrastructure, not just for the needs of 1 or 2 years, it must be for over 5 to 10 years. So Malacca Straits, Straits of Hormuz, I talk about even South China Sea, many other areas which are very, very critical for shipping. So you're looking at this issue in Hormuz now. Hormuz is a strategic entry point into the Persian Gulf. And Persian Gulf is a huge enabler of economies of several nations there.
Port Klang is located on the west coast of Peninsular Malaysia, and the port is one of the world's busiest ports and serves as the country's main maritime gateway. As a transshipment port, it connects over 120 countries and 600 ports worldwide.
Our trade with the Middle East ports is only about 3.5% of our total volume, which is quite significant if you translate that into container volumes, which is about 500,000 container volumes. So when I say 3.5%, I don't want to say that we are not handling that much, right? But they are also important trade to Malaysia. We are also having a lot of exports going to these countries. So regardless of the issues that are taking place outside the country, we have to be prepared. It's not just because of Hormuz. Even during the COVID, we had the same issues. These ships are not small. Some of the ships are huge. They carry up to 24,000 TEUs, means the containers, the number of containers they carry. They are about 400 meters long, length of 4 football fields, right? And we are looking at the various type of cargo that they're carrying. Some of this cargo are hazardous. If something goes wrong, if there is an accident, there's going to be a lot of negative spillovers.
In an increasingly complex global shipping landscape, the Port Klang Authority plays a crucial role not just in managing port activities but in safeguarding the flow of trade that drives the nation's economy.
Last year, we registered a growth of almost 4%. So there is an organic growth here in these parts of the world. Southeast Asia is one of the most rapidly expanding industrial area in the world, and therefore Malaysia is also located very suitably in the middle of ASEAN. We have got a very good markets around ASEAN countries, and we also have not just a good location, we also have good ports that can serve the other countries as well. So we do a lot of local cargo as well as transshipment for foreign ports as well.
Ports serve as gateways for international trade, providing infrastructure for the loading, unloading, storage and distribution of cargo. Efficient ports and logistics services are vital for reducing bottlenecks in the supply chain and thus improving the flow of goods and materials. The Strait of Hormuz remains a key route for global energy and trade, making maritime security more important than ever. In response to rising risks such as unidentified vessels, piracy and shipping disruptions, countries are turning to AI and space technology to improve maritime surveillance. AI-powered satellites are now helping to manage sea traffic and support faster emergency response. These tools are also strengthening port operations and overall maritime security. Let's hear from the CEO of Marlan Space and the acting CEO of Orbit Works.
So we have a lot of piracy that happens in the seas, and most of the time with satellites that are not AI enabled, we get the information, but that information arrives quite late. And by that stage, it's basically just informing that an incident has happened. An AI-enabled constellation can tell you when the incident is about to occur or before it, if it sees objects or vessels that are not identified or their AIS is not recognized to be in that terrain. But more than just that, it's also not just piracy, but lane management and the management of vessels and their traffic flow can all be done through AI-enabled constellations and do it in real time, so that any incidents that may occur can be prevented. Where we see UAE's success is in taking action, in entering this market and trying to keep up with that pace globally. The issue that most countries sometimes do is to take this as an exercise in academia. It needs to be an exercise in development, not just research, and to be able to move at the pace we need to. I think there is quite a bit of initiative that is already underway. I am aware of Malaysia building its space capabilities, and I think those are the right steps to take. It's now integrating those capabilities and finding good partners across the globe that it can build with. It's difficult for any nation to be completely vertically integrated when it comes to space assets, so you need a lot of good collaborations and finding partners. For example, the UAE and Malaysia partnership is quite strong. To be able to see partners there delivering services together both benefits both nations, and it also increases the progress and the flow of information. So OrbitWorks is a model is joint partnership. So it's a joint venture between a US startup and an investment company in the UAE, Marlan Space. We think that this is a good model because it incentivizes both sides to make successful operations. And so with us, OrbitWorks now is not just a satellite manufacturer, but it's also an operator of a constellation, an Altair constellation, an Earth observation constellation that has AI-enabled sensors on board. And we think that this kind of a model where there is a partnership that with both sides, both financially and technically incentivized to work. I think with what we're doing, we think it could be a good model for Malaysia to also apply.
Stay tuned. We'll back after this break.
Guna mentol jimat tenaga untuk lebih jimat.
Welcome back. Agriculture and Food Security Minister Datuk Seri Muhammad Sabu said that the Malaysia's food supply remains stable, but rising costs may lead to higher prices in the coming months. This is due to rising costs such as fertilizer, animal feed and fuel. He said the government has taken early measures, including establishing the National Economic Action Council to maintain supply stability and keep prices under control. Global uncertainty continues to put pressure on supply chains and energy markets, raising concern over rising costs, potential shortages and economic stability. As these challenges grow, attention turns to how prepared Malaysia is to maintain food supply and energy security and what it could mean for different sectors and Malaysians. To help us understand this better, let's hear from analysts.
Yeah, I think we can all agree that this crisis has resulted concerns over supplies of fuel coming from the Straits of Hormuz, because it represents about 38% of our fuel supplies from that region. Of course, in corresponding to that, also we worried about the fertilizers, because fertilizers are also important for our agricultural crops. So on that note, we are facing concerns over fuel supplies as well as food security. So in the immediate terms, I think the governments have been trying to mitigate the impact via measures through subsidies, to make sure that this cost of living can be managed well, at least in the near term. But of course, this comes with the trade-offs. Yes, I think immediately the businesses might want to maintain their current pricing, but eventually they might want to pass on all these additional costs to the end consumers. So what we are seeing is that there is a possibility that consumer prices will also start to creep up, perhaps in the next few months ahead. So these are the main immediate impact for businesses. I think the main issue now is the concerns over the fuel supplies. So I think the government has enacted sort of ruling for the public civil servants to working from home. The aim here is to reduce the fuel consumptions, and hopefully we can extend the stockpile for our fuel, which now currently being set to be in July. So I think it's high time for the private sector also to implement working from home, because we want to conserve the fuel consumptions. I understand there's some reservation among the private sector with respect to working from home, but I think if there's a severe or acute fuel shortages, then everyone will be affected, even the private sector. I think that it is best not to manage directly, but to focus on what's best for the country in terms of policy making and implementation. From there, I think the global investors will continue to review our economy, and they will form their opinion. And of course, we have seen MOF, Bank Negara meeting all these global investors to create better confidence and better clarity in policy communications. So those are the measures that would allow our ringgit to maintain at the current level.
More coming up after the break.
Padamkan komputer untuk lebih penjimatan.
Let's turn to the global economic updates influencing markets and supply chains around the world. OPEC said that 7 OPEC Plus countries decided to increase their oil production cap by 188,000 barrels per day in June in response to the withdrawal of the United Arab Emirates from the bloc. The 7 countries, Saudi Arabia, Russia, Iraq, Kuwait, Kazakhstan, Algeria and Oman, made the decision to review global market conditions and outlook. The United Arab Emirates left OPEC and OPEC Plus on good terms and will continue working with members of the groups. The energy minister said UAE is discussing a currency swap line with the United States.
It's not the first time that a member country exit the group. It happened before, and the group has been relatively calm about it. Everyone realized that this is a sovereign decision. Everyone realized that UAE will be, as well, and as we said, a responsible producer. We're not new to this market. We understand it. We will always be acting responsibly, and we will be, as an individual producer, hopefully an enabler for growth.
The country announced its decision to withdraw from OPEC and OPEC Plus, with the decision to take effect as of 1st May 2026. This decision aligns with the United Arab Emirates' long-term strategic and economic vision and the evolution of its energy sector, including accelerating investment in domestic energy production. Singapore's Prime Minister warned that economic growth may slow this year, with some countries at risk of recession as war and supply disruptions continue to worsen. Shipping through the Strait, which handles a fifth of global oil and gas, has been effectively stopped since the United States and Israel began bombing Iran on 28 of February. Some regional countries are already facing fuel shortages, airlines have cut flights, and factories are reporting delays. Singapore, however, is dealing with the crisis from a position of strength because of policies it implemented in the past to build energy resilience, including being a major oil refining hub and energy trading centre. Thailand approved a 12.2 billion USD emergency borrowing package to cushion the economic impacts of the West Asia war, marking one of the country's largest borrowing plans in decades. The cabinet said the funding will be used to boost domestic spending and ease economic hardships as inflation rises and growth slows, with the finance ministry last week cutting its GDP growth forecast to 1.6% from 2.4% last year. Australia will spend $7.22 billion to boost its national fuel stockpiles and establish a permanent government-owned fuel reserve.
We will now have a government-owned fuel reserve of around 1 billion litres to add to those minimum stocks that the private sector must hold, particularly focused on diesel and jet fuel, where we do need to ensure greater domestic capacity and supply in the worst of circumstances. This is a big change in our approach as a country, and a good one.
Australia imports about 80% of its fuel and has experienced localized shortages since the start of the conflict in the West Asia. Its current reserves mandate at around 30 days supply rely on stocks maintained by private companies. And that wraps up this edition. Thank you for watching. I'm Vimala. We'll see you again soon. Take care.